The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. It's time for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. We'll talk all things Hokie wrestling with Coach Tony Robie and staff. Now, let's join your host, Hall of Fame wrestling writer and broadcaster, Jason Bryant.
Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling on location, the rare opportunity to get Tony Robie in person here as we are at the Wyndham New Yorker Hotel following up the 6th annual Grapple at the Garden. Virginia Tech 26-16 winners today over a game Princeton squad, but most of the things, even the tight ones, went your way. A couple things you'd probably like to correct, but overall, I guess grades of what you thought, how the team wrestled today in a win over Princeton in an interesting atmosphere, a theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I guess overall I thought we wrestled pretty well. Whenever there's 10 guys stepping out there, I say this all the time, and it's not going to be all good and all great. And I thought we had a lot of great things happen tonight. Some really good performances, more really good performances than performances that I wasn't happy with. So overall, coming into the dual meet, Princeton's got a good team and they're well coached and their guys always wrestle hard. So we expected to be in a scrap and we expected to be close, and it turned out it wasn't as close as that I thought it might be. So I thought the guys did a pretty good job overall. They wanted to draw, so we drew 174, which is probably good for us. Allowed us to get on a roll. Hunter Bolin went out, and real pleased with Hunter's effort. It's fantastic, and I think his wrestling is continuing to improve all the time. And he's kind of nipping at the heels of the top 12 guys in the country, and had a good win again tonight. And like I said, his improvement is evident every time he steps out there. But that's a credit to Hunter and the way he approaches practice and the way he approaches his development with his wrestling, working with his coaches and his teammates. So Zavatsky was able to get a major decision. I think he won 13-3. Did a lot of really good things. Accumulated a lot of riding time, and that's something that we've been focusing on really all summer and then through the fall and into the season is just getting better in the top position, and I think it'll help us down the road win some tight matches at the NCAA championship. So Zach's always been a guy that's been really good on top. Would like to see him convert some more back points. I think he's capable of doing that. But he had a good performance. Jared Hott had wrestled a guy that did a good job, came out, wrestled him hard. Didn't do a lot. I think his goal was to keep it close, and sometimes when guys do that with Jared, he has a hard time getting to his offense a little bit, and the kid had pretty good hips, so the few times that we were able to get to his legs, weren't able to finish, but we were able to hold him down for 2 minutes, and that was the difference of the match. Got a riding time point, got an escape point, won 2-0, which I think is huge development for Jared, although we'd love to see him score some more takedowns, and he's been doing a really good job of opening up this year, more so than he has in the past. But I felt like an area that could help him beat some of the top guys in the country and in some of those matches at the NCAA is his top. And he's made a commitment to get better there, and he's holding guys down. He's getting riding time, and did a nice job today of doing that. So, I was real pleased with that. Andrew Dunn did a nice job as well. I think he scored 3 takedowns, was in on the guy's leg a bunch of times, had actually lost to that guy, I think, last year while he was redshirting. So, it's I think for him, that's a big deal. It's kind of validation that the hard work that he's put in is working, and he's improving a lot. So, Andrew's going in the right direction for sure. 125, we've got to work some things out there. We're struggling a little bit there. I'm not exactly sure why. Kyle's committed to the sport of wrestling. He wants to do well. He wants to win. I think his commitment level needs to line up a little bit more with where his goals are at, and his goals are high, and he wants to be good, and losing bothers him, which is a good thing. So, it's just a process of continuing to tweak things and try to figure out what we need to do to improve in the areas where he's getting exposed a little bit. And, his bottom position is not where it needs to be yet, and I think his leg attacks aren't where they need to be really an elite wrestler at this level. So Dennis Gustin, nice job, dominated against a lesser opponent. Brent Moore, probably the best match I've seen him wrestle in his career, to be honest with you. Weren't sure what to expect and did a good job. 149, Brandon Gramis, we threw him to the wolves a little bit. It was tough, and he did a good job. He fought hard, and that's all we can expect. So, and then 157, Ryan Blease had an opportunity to get back in the lineup, and we'll probably see a change at West Virginia with BC LaPrade.
And 165, Dave McFadden just looks he looks next level. I think people use the term jump levels almost too much now, but what has enabled him to just really jump from a 5'6" guy to really somebody that's going to try to sit there and challenge the Vincenzo Josephs and the Isaiah Martinez's of the world?
David's a student of the sport, and he's just a great learner. So I think number one, his confidence is an all-time high. He's always been a confident kid. He's always believed. That's the one thing. I remember recruiting him out in Fargo. His year he took second. And just the way he strutted around the tournament in between matches, after his matches, cooling down, before his matches, warming up, you could just tell that David had that X factor in him. And that was what I really liked about him in the recruiting process. And he's carried that over. And I just think, I told the guys in our team meeting, it's like, if there's one guy you want to emulate, it's David McFadden. He comes to practice every day with a great attitude. He comes to practice to get better at wrestling. And he works at his craft, and he's constantly trying to tweak things, improve things, add things to his wrestling. I think if you look at where he was a year ago, 2 years ago, he's light years ahead of that right now. And like you said, I think he's a guy that is going to contend for a national title. So there's the work that he's putting in is a big part of that.
Not sure if it's by design or not, but if you look at the way the schedule is rolled out this year, you've had the duel in Castle, you've been on the road in Vegas, you've had a duel at a theater, you've had an event in Madison Square Garden. There's so many different looks you've given this team. You think they're prepared for anything in any type of situation now?
I don't know. We'll see. I definitely we knew that the first semester of our year, this semester was going to be a little bit tougher. I mean, we competed a lot. We've competed every single weekend. We finally have next weekend we're off, but we start finals on Friday. So it's finals week, and then we finish this semester with West Virginia the following Friday, December 22nd. So, I felt like that we were going to be a little bit front-loaded this year and see some good teams, and then we'll get a little break and kind of shorten up the back end of the season. And we'll start with the Virginia duels the second week of January, and then we have a pretty good schedule second semester too with our ACC schedule. We've got Lehigh, we've got Edinburgh. So, we're going to see some really good teams, and we're going to get challenged. But, yeah, our goal is to hopefully during the course of the season make sure we're prepared for the ACCs and ultimately the NCAA championships, and hopefully we're doing that.
A couple things I want to point out from the match that I noticed, and with the one-match situation, I actually had the opportunity to really pay attention to what was going on. One was an Andrew Dunn's match, and he didn't finish the shot attempt. He got in deep on a double, big lip, very Ty Walls type of double leg. And it seemed like the whole bench got up for that. It's like he was that close to nailing something he'd been working on. It seems like his strength in those positions is getting better. How much is working with Ty really helping him there?
Ty has done an awesome job helping him develop over the course of the last, since he's been in Blacksburg, really. But especially, I think, Andrew's urgency in the last 6 months has risen a lot, and there's a lot of things that I think played into that. And the best thing about Andrew is he responds to, coaching, and he responds to you when you get on him and you tell him that he needs to improve in an area. And I think he's done a good job with that. But Ty has done a good job with a lot of technical things and just working with him, drilling, helping him develop some more skills. And I think he's just gotten technically a lot better. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. I think he's changed his diet. He's gotten healthier. So it's, the product that you see on the mat is really a culmination of a lot of different things. It's hard to always put your finger on one specific thing. Andrew has done a lot more right in the past 6 months than he probably did the year prior to that while he was redshirting. So I think it's a combination of everything that he's doing and the work that he's putting in and that Ty is putting in with him. But a lot of the credit, goes to Andrew Dunn just for his commitment to getting better. And he's getting some confidence, and he's knocking down a lot of wins, and he's starting. We challenged him to try to distance himself a little bit. He likes to go out there and win by one takedown and score in the last 30 seconds sometimes. So we've challenged him in situations where if he felt like he was better than the guy that he was wrestling, to go out and try to score 2, 3, 4 takedowns a match or a period and really distance yourself. And I think as he does that, his confidence will continue to grow. He's going to just get himself into better shape by wrestling harder and spending more energy out there. So, there's a lot of things that play into that.
Wrestling is a brutal sport, and it's also a one that really, shows no mercy at times with how it can just rip your heart out. You feel like you're wrestling well, and then you have a bad tournament. A couple guys didn't have the greatest Vegas. One of those was Dennis Gustafson, not the greatest performance out there. And when a wrestler has to bounce back from an important event that impacts NCAA seeding down the line, that impacts the rankings, it impacts your mental attitude, how has he bounced back from Vegas?
Well, I just think trying to be consistent has been the biggest thing with Dennis, and I don't think he had he didn't have a great Vegas, obviously, but he lost to two guys who were both pretty darn good in really tight matches. So we've got to be able to find ways to win those matches in the NCAA tournament. He could very well see either one of those guys in the All-American round in Cleveland this year. That's just the way that weight class is going to play out. There's a lot of guys that are evenly matched, but it's a matter of not getting too high or getting too low, and just trying to be consistent with your effort, consistent with your training, consistent with your approach to the way that you compete every time you step out there. So your mental approach, your physical routine, your nutrition, everything has got to try to be the same every single time you step out there. So, I think Dennis, and he's had a couple hiccups here lately where he's lost some tight matches to some really good guys, but he's done a good job in that area, just being more consistent with everything that he does.
You said that Brent Moore is probably the best match you've seen him wrestle this year. Why specifically was this performance a standout one for you?
Well, I felt like he did some different things, took some more risks that he ordinarily doesn't take. He hit a really nice high crotch, kind of an outside step high crotch, which, I've seen him do that in practice, and Coach Freyer has been working with him on that. And for him to go out and try it and then execute it in a match, that's a step in the right direction for him. And he continued to wrestle, continued to build his lead. He did well from the top position where he's a good top wrestler. He was able to secure a riding time point, if I remember correctly. So just did a lot of positive things out there, and really wrestled the entire 7 minutes and went out to score points. And, that's ultimately what you have to try to do. That's what David McFadden does. He doesn't worry about the time. He doesn't worry about the opponent. He doesn't worry about the venue. His approach is exactly the same all the time, and he just worries about going out and attacking and trying to put up points. And that's really what we'd like to see Brent do, maybe on a smaller scale.
You talked about Brennan Gramis getting thrown to the wolves here at 149 walk-on out of Northern Virginia. Not every day, a lot of guys like that don't ever get an opportunity in rooms around the country to wrestle in a varsity match, let alone wrestle against an All-American. What is something that you can tell him about, not just getting discouraged? Because watching that match, in some cases, I'm sitting there going, oof, that was a beating. And that's the reality of it. So what do you tell, Brendan at a moment like this where, it's one of the few opportunities he's probably going to have, but, he wrestled Kolodzik here.
I told him I was proud of his effort. And that's, he was in a situation where he's wrestling a guy. Brandon's an unrecruited walk-on that we weren't sure was going to make the team. Was gonna make our roster, and he came in, he showed up, he worked hard. I liked his toughness. I liked the way he just approached things every day. And I was like, he just has been growing on us. And here's what I told him. I said, I have no problem sitting in your corner. I'm proud to sit in your corner because you go out there and you fight hard and you try hard and you battle the whole time. And that's all we can ask. Win or lose, you go out there and you battle the whole time. And I felt like he did a good job with that against an opponent that, he was obviously inferior to, and a guy that's really good, one of the best in the country. So it was a tough spot to be in. It may not be the last time he's in that spot. I don't know. But, I give him credit for going out there and hanging in there. And there was one situation where I thought he was literally going to get choked out, and the kid just stayed in there and fought and battled. And those are the kind of guys that you want on your team, that you want in your room, that help the environment, that help the culture. So, we're glad to have him on our team.
Logical question to follow up that is he's in the lineup. So Solomon Shishko is it? What's the situation with Sully?
Sully is, we won't see him until, I would say the earliest at the Virginia duels. He's nursing, some nagging injuries and some other things that are kind of holding him out of the lineup right now. So, we're going to take our time. Solomon's a proven guy. We know what we have with him when he's wrestling well. But we want to get him back to a place where we feel like he's Solomon Shishko, the guy we've seen the last 2 years, the NCAA tournament, and we're getting closer to that. And so, but we're taking our time also. It's not a situation we're going to rush him back in the lineup if we don't feel like he's ready to be in there.
this city, New York City, has had it's been a special place for Hokies. Of course, there was the trophy 2 years ago, and of course the whole the citrus party that was going on that particular year. But Madison Square Garden, the theater at Madison Square Garden, venues changed up this year. What are some things that you think that were good about this event and having wrestling in New York City, and what it also means to the fan base? As you said, there were a number of Hokie fans here, probably outnumbering the Princeton fans, but a unique environment for wrestling, and thoughts about how they run this thing, and maybe the shifts of changing, one way or the other.
Well, I think this is the first year they've done it in the theater, if I'm not mistaken, and they've done it out in the main arena, which obviously we had a great experience there 2 years ago. And anybody who was at the Nationals or been at Madison Square Garden, it's the greatest venue that I've been in for a competition. I can tell you that much. So I was in the theater this year, which is a little bit different.
There was boxing there the night before. World Championship boxing the night before in the same place. Crazy.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on, but I think just being in New York City is a cool thing. And for a lot of our guys, Hunter Boland, who's from Floyd County, Virginia, about an hour from Blacksburg, he's never been to New York City. So for him, it's a cool cultural thing to be here to see this. I remember when we came up 2 years ago, Jared Hott had never been here. He's from Calhoun County, West Virginia. So for these guys to get exposed to these things while they're wrestling at Virginia Tech, it is a pretty cool deal. But as far as the atmosphere was concerned, I thought the Hokie fans turned out pretty good. I mean, there wasn't a huge crowd there, but definitely we had a lot of people that follow us that are from this area. David McFadden had a huge contingent of fans. Andrew Dunn had, I think, 30 people there. We've recruited out of North Jersey a lot over the years. We have some former student athletes that live in the city. So, we had a fair amount of fans there that came out to watch us. So it was pretty cool. We don't get to wrestle up in this part of the country a lot. So we like to try and get up here at least once a year. It's a fertile recruiting area for us as well. And I know there were some kids that are potential student athletes that are looking at Virginia Tech that were at the match. So it was just good to be in the city and let our guys be a part of this and just kind of experience it.
Yeah, world's most famous arena. I mean, let's just take yesterday. Yesterday when I got in, Kentucky Monmouth basketball, I checked that out. After my flight's late, then I have a meeting for this thing. Then I go to the Rangers-Devils game, and then after that, there's the boxing. And then today I get to announce wrestling. So within 18 hours, I saw 4 different sporting events and 4 different sports in the same building. Pretty crazy how they move things around here.
Yeah, pretty cool. And the Knicks were playing tonight. We're actually going to try to go to the Knicks game. So, yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for, really? You're in New York City. You have all these opportunities to watch some great sporting events and watch some great wrestling. And it's just a cool deal for our guys and for our coaches. And some of our administration came up, and we brought some of our boosters up with us, and we're able to spend some quality time with them as well and our donors. So it was really a no-brainer for us to come up to this thing and wrestle Princeton here. And they'll probably come back to us in Blacksburg next year. We've been up this way 2 years in a row to compete against them. So we'll try to keep that thing going and get them in Blacksburg next year.
Yeah, speaking of far as how the boosters and the fans, I met a couple of them last night as I came in from boxing. We were just hanging out in the bottom of the hotel. And what does that to me, that type of interaction is what makes wrestling great. It's being able to sit there and meet people, sitting with your SID, your trainer, and everybody that comes along with the program. It's not just the coaching staff or the athletes that are part of this program. What do those people really mean on a trip like this?
Well, I think the personal relationship is what it's all about, and that's how you get people involved in your program. And we brought up Mark and Molly Whitehouse had come up, and a guy named Jan Sasser from Roanoke, who are huge Hokie wrestling fans, supporters, donors of the Southeast Regional Training Center. So we'd like to be able to give back to them, too. It's an opportunity for us to take care of them because they do a lot of great things for us. We want to give them a lot of access to our program, access to the guys on the team. We want them to feel like they're a part of it because they really are. And that's what it is. That's what it's all about. And I think that's how you build your fan base. That's how you continue to build your donor base, is to get people involved. And when they get involved, you got to treat them right. I mean, it's a two-way street, and you always have to continue to build that relationship with them. And they love being around the guys on our team and getting to know the guys on our team and developing those relationships as well. So it was great. Chris Helms and Carly Northrup, 2 of our administrators, had come up here this weekend as well. So, Virginia Tech was represented well, and it was a good weekend for us.
Finally, no Frank Molinaro this week. There's some news coming around with that particular way, right?
Yeah, well, Frank's wife, Kara's, she's due any day now. Yeah, with their third boy. So she's going to have her hands full.
Yeah, especially Frank didn't get a pass for Grapple the Garden. The Olympics he got a pass for. He obviously wasn't happy about it, but that's 3 boys with dad as a wrestler. It's going to be some interesting parenting in about 10, 12 years.
No doubt. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he watched the match online and was texting me after the match, was really pleased with the way things, but obviously, he needs to be home in case something would happen. I know he missed the birth of Frank Jr. when he was in the Olympics, and I'm not sure. He may have even missed the birth with his son, Kaysen. Don't quote me on that. His oldest son as well. So he needs to be there. And now that they're in Blacksburg, they don't have a lot of family close. So we let him stay home and stick around with Kara and the boys. And I don't think we've gotten any news yet. So I think he's made it through the weekend okay to this point.
Tony Robie, thanks for the time, and always good to see you in person here.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Hokie fans, listen to Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling anywhere you go by subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Go to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com/iTunes, or you can get the exclusive Android or iOS apps by going to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com.
Show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.